and Elle is just trying to keep us from talking about Georgia.
Okay, please don't. Yeah, let's move on. That's just thanks, Greeny.
She's managed to, you've weathered an hour.
It's coming.
I know it's coming, and I can't.
We'll see if we get there in our next hour of Get Up, coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. Here comes the menu. Will the Bulldogs make it? We'll see. We're not starting there. We're starting with this. We're getting up with the Cowboys. On Jerry Jones' birthday, his team gives him a third straight loss. Who takes the blame in Big D? We're starting there. Then, Cleveland. We got a problem. Actually, a bunch of them. The mistakes, the turnovers. How did it get so late, so early for the Browns? And a big night ahead for Aaron and the Packers. I guess both Aarons. Can they prove they're the legit team to beat in the NFC? All that and more in this hour. Let's get up, starting right now. And it begins with the Jets and the Cowboys yesterday afternoon. I'm calling them Sammy Spleen. Sam Darnold back after the mono. Amari Cooper, meanwhile, would play only 3 snaps before leaving with a quad injury. Cowboys already playing shorthanded in a variety of places. They're going for it on a 4th down in the red zone here, down 7-3, and they are snuffed by a Jet defense that played very well yesterday, and then on the very next play.
Well, your quarterback comes back and your play caller gets better. A beautiful, aggressive play call by Adam Gase, a double move by Robbie Anderson, and that throw, the air looked like one of the golden arches of McDonald's. A beautiful throw by Sam Darnold.
And he was just getting started. How about the half he had? Final minute of the half, that's a touchdown to Ryan Griffin.
I love the communication by Darnold. Told Griffin, hey, if that guy blitzes, turn your head around, throws it on his back hip, touchdown.
Third quarter with a chance to sort of put this game away. There's his one mistake, Rex.
That's still ugly right there. A young quarterback mistake, but man, he played great.
Fake news,
other than
never
that.
happened.
His only turnover of the game. Cowboys would miss a field goal. 4th quarter, under 7 to go. Cowboys in the red zone. And you know what? The second half, Rex, they gave it to Zeke.
No, they did, and that's what you should do. Give it to your best player. We said it about 10 years in a row with this team, and there you go. There's why you give it to them.
21-16 there. Jets would make a field goal, so they're up 8 points. Under 2 minutes to go. Dak throwing it downfield, and here comes a flag, and there would be a bunch of them.
Yeah, this should just be a contested play. Both guys going up, making a play on the football.
Back-to-back Cowboy penalties makes it 1st and 27. Then they call a pass interference on this, which is a huge call on a 1st and 27. Jim Nantz almost came out of the booth to complain about the officiating. But one way or another, this drive ends with Dak running it in, so it's 24-22, 2-point conversion for the game. And Rex, you don't like the play call.
What are you doing? You motion the back out like Greg Williamson just going to be like, you know he's sitting in the house. Now they have no time to get the flag. I mean, the completion.
Right. Everyone looking around for a flag. Stunningly, there wasn't one. Jets win 24-22. Again, on Jerry Jones's birthday. Here's what he had to say after the game. I'm going to be very trite. I was a lot happier with what he had done, meaning his coach, the first 3 games than what's happened the last 3 games. But the big thing I want to say is it's not just him. This is across the board. Boy, there's a lot to unpack in just that paragraph from Jerry Jones, isn't there? So let's ask the question. How much of what we saw yesterday, a Cowboys team that has lost 3 straight games against teams with better teams than the ones they played early, how much of it was on the head coach?
No, it's always going to come down on the head coach. But I can tell you this, that would be an uncomfortable plane ride. And that's one, if the owner's ever on your plane, it'd be his plane.
Yeah.
And you're on that thing, you pretend that you're asleep. But anyway, I've been there and done that.
What's uncomfortable? What about it is uncomfortable?
No, everything, because right now it's coming down on him. But it's come down on this guy for 10 years. You've at least, 12 years now? You've never fired him, so what the heck? He's going to be like, hey, you're not going to fire me again. This team is not awful. They just happen to get beat this game. They see what it's like when you don't have your left tackle, you don't have your receivers against a good football team. Look, the Jets, I say a good team, a good defensive football team. And by the way, they have a real quarterback, so.
But here's a concerning part, Dan. You watch the video of Jason Garrett, right? And it's become fun Twitter fodder, but you see him trying to get high fives from his boys, and they all purposefully walk right by him and refuse to high five. Has he lost this locker room?
There it is.
And there it is right here. And is that a concern moving forward? Because yes, every October it's pumpkin spice lattes and will Jason Garrett get fired? Obviously it hasn't happened. I mean, that's where we're at.
I can't speak to if he's lost the locker room, but I do know that actions speak louder than words. And I think the actions of that video tell us a lot of what we need to know, right? Like when you as a coach, that game was, what, 3 or 4? That video we just saw was like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and it's a 1-possession game. The Cowboys are down 8. and he's out there trying in some way to like generate some enthusiasm or energy for his football team, and you are coming off the sidelines and not paying attention to it, that to me as an owner would speak volumes. And again, yes, it is across the board for the Dallas Cowboys, but the number one role or one of the many roles for the head coach is to make sure that everyone else is doing their job. And you would argue that there's not enough people across the board for the Cowboys doing their job, and that's his number one job.
And maybe the quarterback is one of those. So I will phrase this next part of the conversation in the form of this question. If you were to propose a trade, Sam Darnold for Dak Prescott, who doesn't do it?
Oh, I'd take Sam Darnold in a New York minute.
And you know what? If the Cowboys were smart, they'd make that trade, and the Jets would laugh at the very notion of it. So we're talking about $40 million for Dak Prescott, who, after beating 3 terrible teams as an MVP candidate, there's no one would watch that game yesterday and say Dak Prescott is better than Sam Darnold. No one.
Absolutely right, Greeny. In all the stock that he had built up for himself in the first month, Dak has just been gone in the last month. And I would have never imagined making that comment, that everything he had built up, all the good and positivity that Dak had built up in the beginning part of the season is completely gone. And here's the reality. You can't go to the table and ask for $40 million and then lose on the road to an 0-4 football team. The guy in the booth wouldn't have lost that game. That's the concerning thing for me if I'm Jerry Jones.
Remember, Dan, early in the season, you're like, hey, listen, don't sign anything. And I'm like, oh, hell no. You sign it as quick as you can in case they change their mind, because you want to sign that contract. Well, stock is down on this guy right now.
I just wouldn't imagine it falling so quickly.
I'm with you, but I told him to sign that thing.
Can I be greeny really quickly? We're acting like, oh my God, they got beat by a 0-4, a winless Jets team. Like, that wasn't exactly an 0-4 team. They got Sam Darnold back in the fold. You just said he's better than Dak Prescott.
Yes.
So to that point, would you panic? You're still sitting atop your division at 3-3, despite the fact you've lost.
Don't panic. Because I'm sitting back. No, you absolutely, you're not going to panic. You know, if you're a 500 team, you're going to be in it in the East. So to me,
Terrible
look,
division.
they have the most talent. When they're healthy, they have one of the most talented rosters in the National Football League.
Yes.
They're going to make the playoffs. Are they going to do anything in the playoffs? We already know what history says.
Well,
absolutely not.
Well, then in this case, it's going to be different from previous years, and I'll tell you why. And granted, they played yesterday without their left tackle. Amari Cooper barely played in the game. But Jerry Jones paid Zeke Elliott when he didn't have to. We talked about that weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. And the only reason he did is because he, the owner of the team, identified this as a Super Bowl team. 3-3, not good enough when you're making decisions that way.
No, absolutely. And for me right now with the Cowboys, it's what is Tyron Smith's injury? What is Amari Cooper's injury? That is the biggest question tied to that football team. The second thing is right now, who's calling plays? Because it doesn't look like Kellen Moore is anymore. And then the third thing is this: do I think my quarterback can win me a Super Bowl? And the question still lingers out there with Dak.
I'm laughing at the Kellen Moore's not calling plays. He only calls them when they work. So, by the guy, you know,
it doesn't look the same, Rex.
You love this dude, man.
It doesn't look the same.
Hey, I tell you what, I'm going to blame it on Mike Patton. My God, Patton's calling the defense.
It doesn't look the same. You can't tell me it looks the same.
No, but it's still a stupid thing.
It looks like last year.
Let's put our best player out of the backfield, take all the way the running threat away on a 2-point play. Let's not get in the hand. And if you are going to motion the guy, then throw him the darn football.
Right, but Rex, that's a single play call. It doesn't look like the same offense.
Jason Garrett? No, of course not. They're playing against real football teams, and they're challenging. They face defenses. Greg Williams, Mike Patton.
If Kellen Moore played safety, you'd love him.
But they sit back and they've. Yeah, if they were a defense guy, absolutely. But anyway, all these three guys, they put real defenses out there that change the picture, make it more difficult. And a young coordinator, he's going to be a good coach. He just needs experience.
How about this, Cowboys? Let the folks in Minnesota be your North Star, because a couple of weeks ago they were reeling too, and then yesterday they lit up the Eagles 38-20 behind another huge passing day from much maligned quarterback Kirk Cousins. Now on Friday, Eagles linebacker Zach Brown called Cousins probably the weakest part of the Vikings offense. He had 333 yards and 4 touchdowns. So yesterday, he wanted to, or rather didn't want to comment about it.
Do you wish maybe you didn't say what you said about Cousins?
I'm here to talk about the game, not about that. Any other questions besides about Kirk Cousins?
How do you think he's going to that?
He did a great job there. He played good, you know? That's awesome. I can't break that.
Doug Peterson's heading to the podium.
Doug Peterson's the podium.
Look,
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, Greeny, I had this guy, me and 20 other teams in the NFL. This is one of the most talented kids in the league. But if you make a statement like that, a stupid statement like that, before you play the game, then you better be man enough to sit back and take the questions and give the man credit. Hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said what I said. Guy made me eat my words. He kicked our butts. Done. And my butt, not our butt, but my butt.
I think it's as simple as this, the saying, don't write checks your butt can't cash. You know, like if you don't come out and say something like that and then not back it up.
That might be the weakest thing I've seen a football player do in years. The question is about the game. He's saying, I'm only taking a game. Questions about the game. Yes, in the game, Zach, Kirk Cousins annihilated your defense. He carved you up. He threw 3 touchdowns to Stephon Diggs, who dropped other ones. And I'm only talking about that after I'm running my mouth on Friday. That's one of the weakest moves I've seen from an NFL player in I don't know how long.
No, Greeny, I couldn't agree with you more.
Would you have respected it more if he'd have doubled down and said he had one good game and the sun shines on a dog? You know what? Every now and again,
I think it's one of those moments.
Dude, you got to just
it's that
accept
moment.
it.
He's like, listen, he made me eat my words, and he shut me up and proved me wrong. And obviously, I got to play better. Hats off to Kirk Cousins for going out and balling. But you don't avoid it. If you're going to come out and make that comment, and you throw the target and the focus strictly on Kirk Cousins, and he doesn't play good, but he plays great. You can't write that check and then not back it up.
Kirk Cousins' own receivers 2 weeks ago said he was the weakest part of their offense.
Well, he was playing bad.
So, again, I get back to the point that, he wasn't exactly wrong. Was
Well,
he wrong?
I mean,
No, he was
yesterday
wrong.
he was.
He was wrong.
Yesterday he was.
Okay.
That's my
Listen,
point.
He can say what he wants to say going into it.
Sure.
But if you make a big, bold statement like that, and then afterwards your response is, I'm only here to talk about the game.
Sure, it's weak.
That's the problem.
Dude,
That's as weak
I
as
made
it
some
gets.
bold statements, but guess what? And I was wrong plenty of times.
Yes.
But I at least owned it when it came back to me. And look, take it, man. You put it out there, then you gotta accept the consequences and be a man and do it.
That was I was flabbergasted when I saw that yesterday. Okay, let's go to another scene of another disaster. Cleveland yesterday. Baker and the Browns taking on Seattle. Second quarter. Browns are up 8. Chance to extend the lead. Baker Mayfield, this is his 3rd red zone interception of the year.
Yeah, you get the call versus the coverage that you want. The little post to Landry, he wins, but the ball is behind him. That leads to that tip pick, and it's all about Baker's feet.
Now 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter in a game in which Seattle had been down by 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, what a year he's having.
This is just pretty. Patience, poise in the pocket. Look at the location of that throw. The safety drives it, thrown away from him.
That's the difference of the 2 quarterbacks. And you make your money in this league in the red zone.
4th quarter now. Browns going for it on a 4th and goal from the 1. This is a crazy sequence, but it turns out to be incredibly important. In short, Jarvis Landry thought he scored there. They rule it a fumble. Freddie Kitchens is going to challenge that. Remember the challenge. They do not overturn the play, so they wind up going for it on 4th down. They're stuffed. Nick Chubb is stuffed there. Browns fans are disappointed. Now, that's not the reason this winds up being incredibly significant, because the Browns defense is then going to hold. Seattle's got a punt from way back there. Michael Dixon shanks the punt. It's 23 yards. So the Browns take over. They're in business, and they will go in and score.
Well, they finally realized that really Nick Chubb has become what Zeke Elliott has been for the Dallas Cowboys. You continue to give him the football, run your offense through him, and good things will consistently happen.
They go for the 2. They get it. So they're up by 3. Now we go back the other way, back and forth in what was a really good game. Chris Carson goes in for the score, so the Seahawks take the lead. And now we go back to the moment where they had the challenge, which means they don't have one coming up. Mayfield entered Sunday with 4 career game-winning drives in the 4th quarter overtime. He throws that one behind the receiver. KJ Wright picks it. But they're still not done. They get one more chance. The defense has to come up big. Seahawks can ice the game on this 3rd down. DK Metcalf, does he catch this?
No, he's bobbling the ball. His left foot steps out of bounds, and he never secures it all the way.
But
look at this.
inexplicably, they rule this a catch on the field, and Freddie Kitchens doesn't have the challenge because he used it before. And that is all she wrote. Seahawks win it by 4. Baker Mayfield, 2-4.
Are you angry? Just sort of how?
Yeah, we lost. I'm pretty pissed.
Yeah.
So you were angry at the start of this game then?
I mean, geez, guys, you're like my counselor right now. No, I mean, I try and get an edge. I'm not angry.
You know, we spent a lot of the summer talking about the Browns and talking about how they would handle adversity. Well, here's much more adversity than I think any of us forecast for them. How do you think they're handling it?
Awful. I mean, that's it. And the quarterback, I was the first one to say that, hey, look, you know, last year I'm like, man, I was wrong with him. He's way better than I thought he was. Nah, he's actually who I thought he was. That's how bad he's playing right now. And when I look at it, this team, Dan, you talked about Chubb needs to be like Ezekiel Elliott of Dallas. Why? That's who the offense needs to run through. And if you do it and get this team in some kind of rhythm, because Greeny, when I'm watching what they're doing offensively, I don't see the checkdowns. You're not making it easy for Baker Mayfield, and that's why he doesn't look confident right now. And this is a confident kid.
Here's the problem, though, is you go out and you get Odell Beckham Jr. So there is an expectation that your offense is going to be one thing. And among the people expecting that, I have to believe, are Odell. So I understand what you're saying. You want to run this offense through Nick Chubb, but can you do that based upon the personnel and personalities you brought in?
Yeah, because if you run it through Chubb, it's only going to free up more opportunities. There are plenty of snaps, right? There's going to be more opportunities for Odell one-on-one. I want to run that tape back because everyone talks about dropped passes for the Cleveland Browns, and I would say that Baker, his accuracy is the big issue. Like, first of all, this post down in the red zone, it's timing, everything is perfect, but watch his feet. Watch the uncertainty with his feet, the lack of confidence. Usually we've seen Baker plant his back foot in the ground here, drive from his right foot to his left foot, and throw with force through that football, and that helps his accuracy. And then some of the drops or things that people are calling drops. Listen, the NFL, you guys hear me say it all the time. This is a completion in college. This is a completion in the NFL. And some of those things that people are calling drops, oh, sure, maybe you would like to see guys catch it, but he also needs to put the ball out where he did last year accurately.
They're 2-4. They have their bye. The good news is their division isn't running away from them, and the conference is not all that strong. So all is certainly not lost in Cleveland, but it is getting late, awfully early in the dog pound. Baseball, Al.
All right, Yankees, Astros.